For decades, history has maintained a clear boundary for Norse exploration in North America, a single, lonely coastal camp at the tip of Newfoundland. But new science has provided an exact timestamp for this site. By identifying a spike in tree ring growth caused by a solar storm in the year 993, researchers dated Norse activity here exactly to 1021. Establishing this precise date reveals a vacuum in the historical record. If these explorers were fully operational 1,000 years ago, it forces us to ask how they spent their time on this continent. The structures at Lanso's Meadows, the halls, workshops, and storage huts, match the designs found in Greenland and Iceland. Yet archaeologists found no graves and no signs of long-term family habitation. Inside the earth, they discovered something more revealing: ring-headed bronze pins, iron nails, and a bloomery furnace littered with heaps of smelted slag. This equipment allowed the Norse to repair ocean-going ships, forge tools, and process heavy resources on site. These industrial capabilities indicate that Lanso Meadows was not a permanent destination. It was a seasonal gateway, designed to launch expeditions further into the unknown. During the medieval warm period, a rare climate window opened. Glaciers retreated and sea ice shrank, making the northern corridors more accessible than they had been in thousands of years. As the glaciers melted, river levels rose, creating high water pathways that extended deep into the North American interior. The Norse were already experts at this kind of travel. Just as they navigated the river networks of Europe from the Baltic to the Black Sea, they likely saw the North American waterways as familiar routes. Their longships were engineered for these environments. With a shallow draft, they could skim through water barely a meter deep, allowing crews to slip inland and portage across land to reach distant waters. To a Norse navigator, these sprawling river networks functioned as pathways leading directly into the continent. One plausible route follows the St. Lawrence River into the Great Lakes, waters used for millennia by Indigenous nations. A second offers a watery staircase from Hudson Bay, down the Nelson River, into Lake Winnipeg, and south to the Red River. This path would have required navigating through thousands of miles of isolated wilderness and dense forest. Despite the distance, specific physical artifacts have surfaced throughout the interior and along the coast, including an 11th century Norwegian silver coin found in Maine. This trail of evidence leads to the Kensington Runestone, discovered on a Minnesota farm in 1898. The stone is carved with runes and dated 1362. These objects align with Indigenous oral traditions that describe pale strangers arriving in wooden ships. These visitors moved silently along the rivers and carried unfamiliar iron tools. While individual finds are often debated, their geographic alignment with these ancient stories and navigable river routes forms a compelling circumstantial case for inland exploration. The investigation has now shifted from the surface of the land to the clues buried in the lake beds of Minnesota. Researchers are now extracting samples from the dark silt of ancient, undisturbed sediment. This technique targets environmental DNA, which can detect the faint genetic signatures of populations that occupied the area centuries ago. Within these lakebed samples, Dr. Goodman's team identified rare, low-frequency Scandinavian haplogroups. These traces date between 950 and 1250 CE, the height of the Viking expansion. While these signals are rare, their presence in the timeline makes it difficult to completely dismiss the possibility of a Norse expedition reaching the interior. Definite proof of a permanent Norse settlement in the Midwest remains elusive. We have not yet found the burials or longhouses that would confirm a long-term colony. However, several lines of evidence are beginning to converge: the medieval climate window, mastery of river navigation, misplaced physical artifacts, and these new genetic clues. The coast of Newfoundland likely represents a trailhead rather than a final destination. History evolves as new evidence surfaces. The final proof of the Norse journey into the interior may be resting just beneath the next layer of Earth.